I was tired of having excuses and reasons why I wasn't achieving what I hoped to achieve personally and professionally. My 8 months of sobriety took 2 years and 8 months, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Some days I may not feel like I'm my best. On some days, I still experience anxiety. On some days, I still experience sadness or depression. I know that I was not necessarily addicted to alcohol as much as I was addicted to wanting to escape my responsibilities. All right, welcome back to Getting Sober, again. My name is Jay, and today I am 8 months sober. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that, but first, make sure that you're subscribed by hitting the subscribe button down below, and make sure to give this video a big thumbs up at some point. You might as well do it now. And don't forget to leave a comment for either me or for one of the many members of our very helpful and supportive community in the comment section down below. And with that, let's get started with today's episode, which is, I'm 8 months sober. How long have you been sober? Comment below. That's your first prompt for today. So I want to talk about a little bit about the pros and the cons about being sober for 8 months, what I was expecting, which, expectations kind of get us in trouble from time to time, don't they? And a little bit about the things that I've talked about already previously that I will reiterate again after 8 months of sobriety, the positives to go along with some of the negatives and some of the things that I maybe had lofty goals and expectations, right? We talked about that, managing realistic sobriety goals. We've talked about a lot of different topics. And then also too, for a lot of you that are new to this channel, we average something like 15 to 20 new people, new subscribers a day. And some people come, some people go, some people subscribe, some people unsubscribe. It's the nature of YouTube. But for those of you that are new to the channel, what I try to do is, I know that a lot of people, maybe including yourself, you're looking for a quick solution and a quick fix. And if nobody's told you before, there is no quick fix, there is no quick solution. And that may be disheartening for you to hear, but I am a person that likes to nip it in the bud, so to speak, and try to work on what we can be in control of. And one of the main things that we can try to be in control of is how we mentally approach our sobriety. Everybody's going to be different. And I always love to say results may vary. I also like to remind people that I am not a medical professional. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a drug or alcohol counselor. I am a person who is also on my own journey into sobriety. And I like to share some of the techniques that I use, some of the things that I found helpful, and also try to steer you away from some of the things that I found detrimental to my success, which is why I want to talk about today, me being 8 months sober, which for me is also a record. What is your record for sobriety? Comment below. The first 18 to 21 years of your life don't count. So keep that in mind. But when it comes to being 8 months sober and having certain mentalities, one thing that I always try to steer people clear of is negative thought processes, because we already probably do a fine enough job of being self-loathing and self-deprecating and being negative, because our own worst critic is who? And with that in mind, I always like to tell people, whether it be you had a relapse, you can look at relapse however you want to look at relapse. The soft suggestion that I like to make with regard to a relapse is, I call it putting an asterisk on that day. Very simply put, let's say if you were sober for 29 straight days, and then whatever happened, for whatever reason on day 29, or what would have been day 30 of sobriety, you drank. Maybe you were stressed out, you went through a breakup, you lost somebody close to you, your dog, your cat, whatever it is, who knows? Whatever it is. Typically it's a loss of some sort, right? It's something upsetting. Typically when it also could be something happy. Maybe you have a good opportunity. Maybe finally the person that you've had a crush on forever finally said yes. Finally they said, the pandemic's over. Let's go on a date. Let's go and have drinks. And you're just very thankful that they even just proposed the whole idea. So you break your sobriety, whatever the case may be. I like to just say putting an asterisk on it, which is not a hall pass. which is not the freedom to know that, well, like, at least I got that in my back pocket. So if I decide to fall off the wagon real hard, I'll just do what that guy says on that channel, the black and white channel, I'll put the asterisk or whatever on it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, instead of derailing your whole sobriety, your 29 days of very hard-earned sobriety, right? The first 3 days are arguably the worst 3 days of trying to get sober. Is it impossible? No. But will it seem impossible? Yes, especially if it's your first time trying to get sober or your second time trying to get sober, again, and so on and so forth. We have a lot of failings along our journey, just like when we try to learn how to ride a bike. Very rarely do we just take the training wheels off and then we're just done, we're good, we stay up on the bike, we never fall down ever again, right? We typically fall down a couple more times. And even after you've been riding a bike for a couple of years, you hit a pebble on the road, you hit a curb, you don't go up the driveway the right way, you're not paying attention, you're looking over this way, and then you run into a parked car, whatever the case may be. But we don't hate the journey, right? We don't hate those journeys. We know that there's gonna be construction in the summertime when we're driving our car. We know that some streets are gonna be closed down, but we don't just swear off driving. We don't just say, forget it, I'm never driving again. I'm gonna hang my keys up. I'm just gonna park my car in the driveway and I'm never gonna drive anywhere ever again. I'm never gonna take any more journeys in my car. I'm never gonna take another journey in my boat and on my bike, on my own 2 feet. I'm just done with journeys because every time I go on a journey, something unforeseen happens. So that's why we need to be patient while we're practicing our sobriety. And we also need to do a proper amount of what before we start? Preparation. We need to have proper preparation for any journey that we take. So with my journey of 8 months of being sober, it's relatively easy now. A lot of people ask me, and I don't like to give definitive answers. People say like, well, when did the cravings for sugars or sweets go away? Well, some people don't get those. It's gonna be results may vary. Is that a frustrating answer to hear? Yeah. I can't necessarily speak for anybody except for me. And that's also the unique part about this channel, is because some of the things that I say you relate to, and some of the things that I say you maybe don't. But for the most part, I try to be as honest with you as possible. I try to be as transparent with you as possible. I am not the sober coach. There are many channels out there, and a lot of them are in color, if that's your thing. But I have my own unique personality, and I have my own unique approach for sobriety. I'm also not a person who's been to AA. I've not done the 12 steps. I've not tried to take the religious route to sobriety. That does work for some people, and it is not lost on me that prayer is beneficial to me on a daily basis. I do make time and make a point to pray every day, not just for me, but also for you. Yes, you, the person I haven't met, the first person who just subscribed yesterday, who I've never met. I do an all-encompassing prayer for your focus so that you have the energy and the willpower to succeed, that the doors that lead to more and better opportunities are open for you, and the doors that lead to temptation and distraction are closed. And I pray that prayer for all of you every single day, whether or not you're religious. I hope that you find your way. I hope that this channel serves you well while you need it. If you need it on a daily basis, awesome. If you need it one time, you're one and done, even better. Whatever it is that you need, I hope that you find the balance that you're looking for in your life. I hope that you find the happiness that you're looking for in life, because I'm also looking for that. I'm not trying to preach or convince anybody that I have all of the answers, or even that I have some of the answers. I have opinions, I have perspective, and I try to be as thoughtful to the entire process as possible. Now, when it comes to my 8 months of sobriety, took 2 years and 8 months. And I'll explain what I mean by that. What I mean by that is I started this journey coincidentally it was my ex's birthday in 2018. So it was November 28th of 2018. And I was tired of the self-sabotage. I was tired of not having the opportunities that I was looking for in life. I was tired of having excuses and reasons why I wasn't achieving what I hoped to achieve personally and professionally, and then also too mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially, which I like to call the Big Five, which there will be a future episode on the Big Five shortly. But I found myself not knowing how to approach every day the best way. I found myself waking up and not knowing what version of myself I was going to be able to count on. I didn't know who was going to be there in the morning. I didn't know if it was going to be the grumpy version of me, the angry version of me, the depressed version of me. I didn't know if it was going to be the existential dread version of me. I didn't know if it was going to be the let's tackle the whole day. Every day is amazing. Everything's awesome. I didn't know what version of me was going to show up, and I wanted to eliminate inconsistencies in my life. And I'm still trying to do that today. And I think that, I feel that, I believe that, which none of that means it's true, but I think, feel, and believe that people who tell you that they got it all figured out may or may not be telling the truth, right? And while we continue to take other people's perspectives into consideration, while you're taking mine into consideration, or you're taking whoever's into consideration, and then you come up with your own conclusions, because my life experience may not be relevant to your life experience. If you're a mother of two, I will never be a mother of anything. I will not have that unique perspective, which is also why it's very important for you to comment down below, because there are other people who may be following this channel who are young mothers or middle-aged mothers who are looking for somebody with relevant life experience. And I find that to be very, very important. So when I talked about trying to get sober in 2018, right? Just about a month and a half after starting that journey, which I've been transparent about, and I've told the stories of what happened and when and why. And after a month and a half of starting this channel, I fell off the wagon real hard. You know, the beginning of this channel, the episodes were in color. I was in a relationship, and there were children involved, and the children and the relationship partner they were upstairs, and I was sort of kind of quiet in the basement, and I wanted to talk to people about living their best lives and trying to be their best selves. And it was a little bit different. It was a different vibe. It was a different energy. And that was part of my journey. Though prior to 2018, so let's going back 2 years and 8 months, like let's say that puts me at about 36 years. I was about to be 36 years old at that point. I'm 39 years old now. And so of course, when I was 35, I was saying to myself, I want to get sober. When I was 34, when I was 33, when I was 30, when I was 29, when I was 28, all of those years, I intended to drink less. I intended to find a better balance with alcohol and ... whatever else, right? And I tried for a couple days, and then I'd get a text message from some friends, and they want to go out, and then this thing would be happening, or there would be this show or this concert, or there'd be a music festival, and life would be happening, and all of life experiences, for the most part, I chose as my go-to companion alcohol. Sure, I was in a relationship. Sure, I was in relationships, but the relationship that I was most consistently in was one with alcohol. So when we talk about being sober and getting sober, when we talk about 8 months of sobriety, that journey, before it finally stuck, took 2 years now I guess it's 2 years and 9 months, roughly, because then all of December too. So going back to November 28 of 2018, I think I have my math correct. So it's 2 years and 9 months that it took for me to be 8 months sober, right? So with 8 months of sobriety now, I look back at what my expectations were for sobriety and what I was hoping to achieve with sobriety. And in the first big video that made this channel popular in the first place, which was the 20 benefits of quitting alcohol for 30 days, I listed all of those benefits. And then in episode number 90, which is the 25 benefits of quitting alcohol for 90 days, those were observations from my unique perspective. Those were things that I experienced. And then also too, keeping in mind, we always got to keep in mind, there will also be a certain level of placebo with anything that you do. From as simple as going to Starbucks, you think that it's going to make you want to work harder. But in reality, isn't it interesting that no matter how much coffee you drink, it seems to be absolutely ineffective when you hate your job, right? From getting a smoothie, you go to a Robux or wherever you get a smoothie at, and you think to yourself, oh, I'm making a healthy decision. So because I'm making a healthy decision and I added the extra wheatgrass and the vitamin booster and all this stuff, you believe that it's going to do good for your body. And if you believe it to be so, it may be so. It also may not be so. And I know that's probably frustrating for you to hear. And it's also a little frustrating for me to experience. But also too, I'm trying to tell you that I relate to you and the thoughts that you're having, wondering if this is gonna work, wondering if this is where I wanna be and what I wanna do with my life. And if I wanna be sober, or should I just go back to moderation, or what is it that I wanna do? But I want to remind you, and I need to remind you, just like in the previous episode, number 111, we talked about what are your sobriety goals. I asked a lot of questions and you left a lot of comments. And if you haven't watched that episode, please watch it after this episode. It'll come up on the screen when the pop-up at the end screen credits. It'll be down in this corner is the previous episode. Of every one of the episodes, the previous episode shows up right here, and then another episode shows up here, and then you can subscribe on this side. But in episode 111, we talked about what are your sobriety goals? What kind of questions maybe should you be asking? And I am certain that because I am also a human being with 2 arms, 2 legs, hands and feet, hair, eyeballs, nose, ears, etc., that you relate to a lot of the things that I'm saying, because I'm trying to be as in tune as possible with how I'm feeling and what I'm experiencing. So when I talk about the placebo effect, it's the pink cloud honeymoon phase. Everybody will experience this for the most part. Maybe some people won't, but for the most part, everyone will experience the pink cloud or honeymoon phase with their sobriety in the beginning. And that is when you feel like you're riding the high of sobriety. When you have all this hope and you have all of this optimism, like life is going to be awesome because you finally have committed to sobriety. But then there becomes a point where you wonder to yourself, is this it? And then you start to observe maybe the energy is or isn't getting better. Maybe my life is or isn't getting better. And maybe I put too much pressure on sobriety alone to fix all of my problems. Fixing my problems from bridges that I had burned in the past where I didn't make an effort or an attempt to let these people know that I'm really sorry. For letting people around me know and helping them to understand and making them believe that by my positive actions and my better choices, that I am a better person, capable of making better decisions, because now I have a lengthy history of making better decisions instead of worse decisions. And then I can become more trustworthy, and that you can feel more comfortable being around me, that we can open up more dialogues, that we can revisit some of the ways that we had a better relationship in the past before I let some of my personal issues and my alcoholism get in the way. And after 8 months of sobriety, I still need to remember, and we all still need to remember, that even though on some days I may not feel like I'm my best, on some days I still experience anxiety, on some days I still experience sadness or depression, there are some days where I still get overwhelmed with work. Does that have anything to do with sobriety? No. There are some days that I just don't vibe well with other people, and I may still get in an argument. Is that sobriety's fault? No, it certainly isn't. And the way that I cope with handling my stress and my anger and my emotions, my sadness, my joy, has nothing to do with alcohol. Nor do I need to turn back to alcohol because I'm not entirely sure what to do, and because I'm afraid to navigate all of this empty space. And that tends to be something that happens to a lot of people, is that they'll get sober and then they'll just say, well, now what? I'm awfully bored and I don't know exactly what to tell you other than keeping up with your to-do list, keeping up with filling your schedule with extra things to do, catching up in all the ways that you maybe felt like you were behind. Those are issues that you need to work through. Sitting with your own emotions is something that you need to work through. all that we've done is take away alcohol. That's just the very first step, is choosing not to drink alcohol. The next step is now reapproaching, how do we sit down and watch TV without alcohol? How do we just eat dinner without alcohol? How do we go out to a restaurant without alcohol? We chose alcohol to come with us as a companion everywhere to enhance everything that we were doing, from canoeing, going to the beach, going to concerts, going out into nightlife, whatever it was, we chose alcohol to be there with us. Every time that we felt a little bit of anxiety, we reached for the bottle. Every time that we wanted to have an even better time, we reached for alcohol. And those rewirings are things that we need to get used to, and we will get used to, and it will take practice with our sober journey. Everything is going to be practice. And once you've done it one time, you've had one serious discussion with the person that you're in a relationship with, that's one instance of practice. And maybe the conversation went your way, maybe it didn't go your way. Maybe you're just gonna be sitting there in your head rehashing the whole conversation, writing down notes. I wish I would have said this at this point. I would have, things would have been so much better. But it doesn't mean that you failed, and so I just give up. I'm just gonna go back to drinking again. That's not what that means. It just means that just like the first time that you fell off your bike, you had a desire to succeed. You wanted to get back up, and you wanted to continue riding forward, so that you can ride another 2 minutes longer without falling down, and then 5 minutes longer without falling down, and then a month without falling down, and then a year without falling down. In any journey that we take in life, whether it be romance, whether it be education, whether it be our career, everything takes practice. We do things sometimes better, sometimes we do things worse, but it is going to be a journey. It's something that takes practice and it takes patience. And in closing, I want to remind you of, again, what I have to remind myself is that even though I know that I was not necessarily addicted to alcohol as much as I was addicted to wanting to escape my responsibilities. I was addicted to turning off the voice in my head that said, hey, we have responsibilities, so when are we going to handle that? Hey, remember that great idea you had for some new photography or for some new artwork? When are you going to start those? Hey, remember that business plan? Hey, remember that book that you wanted to write? Hey, remember this and that and the other thing, and all these great ways that your life can possibly be better. Remember all those things? And I chose to silence that voice in my head. I was addicted to escaping. I was addicted to turning my back on my responsibilities. I was addicted to relieving myself of the responsibility that I felt like the universe put on my shoulders. And the sooner you can adopt a mentality of wanting to take your future in your own hands and feeling like you have a grasp on your own future, instead of feeling like you are a slave to your past, that is when you will start to have more success along your journey into sobriety. It's when 3 days of sobriety becomes 4 days and becomes a week and becomes 2 weeks and becomes 2 years. And if you are curious, you might ask, well, how long are you going to stay sober, Jay? And the question or the answer is, I'm not sure, but I'm trying to get to a minimum of 1 year. And so today happens to be 3/4 of 1 full year. And I don't see any reason why I would fall short of that goal. I want to be proud of myself. And whenever I have the thought or the craving or the urge or the temptation to drink, I think about my future self. I think about your future self is just a few hours from now. It's a few minutes from now. And it's definitely tomorrow morning. I always think to myself, how is future me going to feel the next morning if I choose to drink today? How devastated will that person be? Because I am that person. That person deserves to be happy. I deserve to be happy. And me in the past me, yesterday me, was looking out for future me, which is me currently. And yesterday, past me didn't sabotage future me today. And I'm very grateful. I'm very happy that I was able to count on that person yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. And I'm finally in a place now. It didn't take full 8 months. It took maybe about like 3 or 4 months for me to have pride in my sobriety. For me to say things like, sobriety is mine and I'm not gonna give it back. I know how hard I had to work. I know how many days I wasted drinking. I know how much of my money, which is representations of my time in the form of paper currency, how much of my past time that I traded to get money that I gave to a bartender or the liquor store, and they never once gave it back. Imagine that. All of the bartenders that you've given all of your money to, all of the hundreds and all of the thousands of dollars that you've given to them, you get sober, and then all of a sudden, they don't give you a phone call, they don't send you a card in the mail. Isn't it interesting how all of a sudden you don't matter to any of those people unless you go back to the bar, unless you go back to these toxic places, unless you go back to these places where other people are using alcohol to avoid their own life responsibilities. So with that, I want to remind you to stay on track and to think about future you, to think about all of the struggles that you've gone through with your sobriety on day 1, on day 2, on day 3, on week 1, on month 1. These are all huge milestones and you struggled every day to get there. And there will be minutes, there will be hours, there will be days, there may be whole weekends where all you do is think about drinking. And I want you to remember that you will get to a place where you won't think about it anymore. You will get to a place where alcohol will be so far behind you and temptation and cravings will be so far behind you that you'll look back at that person and you'll wonder, why didn't I start sooner? So maybe today is your day 1. And maybe you're thinking to yourself like, well, I wish I was 8 months sober, but I'm not. So keep in mind, the best day to start was yesterday, but the next best day to start is today. So with that, I want to wish you good luck on your journey and stay blessed, and I will see you in the next video.